Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Get Your Paint On this Thursday. I almost said December. November 21st. I'm joined here in the studio with Tanner Thomas.
Hello.
And Tony Konachek.
Hello.
Got a lot of T's here today. So many T's. Let's get into some stream schedule stuff real quick before we get into what we're painting today. So stream schedule stuff, the only thing that's really changing, we've got Hobby Hangout here on the 22nd. And a staff showdown next week, the 26th, which I believe is Tuesday. Both at 10 a.m., just like all of our regular start times. Let's go to subscriptions. So we're getting real close, you guys, to the RideQuest Loot Coin subscription emote. I'm really excited for this. Hopefully you can get a couple more subscriptions so we can get us all the way there. Mini Crate. Disco Infernal is our new Mini Crate model, which you can get through subscribing through December 19th. Also, the VIP Transfer Dancer model is available through February 19th. If you subscribe for the VIP package through the end of this year, you get 2 of them. So if you guys want to get a chance to get both of those, hop on that. That's pretty much all we got for announcements this morning. So we'll roll right into painting the model. Tanner, you've been on some shows before, right?
Just a few,
You
yeah.
just haven't been on Get Your Paint On
Nope,
before.
first time.
You want to explain a little bit about what you do here? You're a man of many talents.
So I run both of our in-house casting departments. That means anything metal or resin comes through my department. I help cast and manage a lot of our equipment and maintenance in both of those 2 departments just to keep things coming out of the building.
In other words, he's a badass.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So we are painting Ledfoot and Tredz today. Tanner's also my main mom pod. Gosh, that's the second time I've done that today. RideQuest guy. So
I'm your main RideQuest guy.
You
I'm
are
honored,
my main. You
truly.
were the guy who got me all the way into it.
Really?
Yeah,
I convinced you?
You were the one who got me in.
Well, it doesn't take a lot of convincing, to be
No,
honest. If you guys haven't played yet, and you are already War Machine or Monpok fans, it's basically board game simplicity. It's a ton of fun. There's a deeper level of strategy for those that play a lot.
It's
And
also
the models,
really light.
as far as related to this goes, some of the most fun I've ever had painting. So
Wow.
hopefully we can share a little bit of that with you with Ledfoot and Tredz here.
Heck yeah. So Tanner and I were talking a little bit before stream about how he wanted to paint up the Ledfoot. And you said you wanted to do red, right?
Yeah, I'm not even going to pretend there's no bias here. I want to make this a cobbled together out of pieces of old Kador Jack tank, and maybe if we have time, throw a little freehand logo on it somewhere.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Where do you want to start?
Yeah, so I'm starting with some Scorn Red. I just got a little bit mixed up on my palette here. And I'm just going to apply this towards the kind of shadowed areas, like the darker areas. So like down here, on the underside of this boiler here, which I'm going to have be painted. And we're just going to get in there.
So you want me to work on some of the undersides with this darker red?
Yep.
And then presumably...
just makes base coating a little bit easier, starting with like the darker areas with the darker color, and then utilizing the brighter base coat for your brighter colors is just a really good cheat.
Yeah,
To
Tanner,
kind of
just
block in your values.
push your model. Yeah, there you go. Just make sure
And we don't got to be too careful.
Oh, we got rated by Riker's Iron.
All right. We love those.
Thank you, Rikers.
Many irons to you, sir.
Got to share that stream
Welcome
love.
everyone to our stream. We're painting a Kador style Ledfoot and Tredz here today, which I'm super excited about. I like painting red. It's one of those things that like. There's always a little bit of improvement to be had there, but it does look good when it's done right.
A red model really pops on the table.
Yeah. So I'm just rushing through this, just getting some paint down.
We definitely don't have to be too careful with anything just yet.
No,
Now,
not at all.
I was kind of messing around in the chat before, so I'm seeing a little color difference on your models. Are you both using the same color right now, or is that a camera difference?
We're both using Scorn Red,
Both using Scorn Red?
Okay, so it looks
Yeah.
like the cameras are just a little mismatched.
Yep.
We were having some technical
This is like
difficulties earlier.
really, really vibrant red for Kidder Red.
Yeah,
Or
Oh, you're
Scorn
going.
for Scorn Red.
You're going basically over all the lower armor plates.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go back over it with the brighter color on some of the areas.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take my Kidder Red base, and I'm going to go up here on this upper area here, and I'm just kind of blend it in there while it's still a little wet. so you get that brighter color. It's kind of hard to differentiate on the camera. I'm not sure why it's so.
And you're
So
doing that
saturated.
with the Kato red base.
Yeah.
Great.
Let me see if I can maybe
So just a little wet blending.
Yeah.
try and do.
And most of the reason why I'm doing this, A, is to get a quick base coat down, and B, is to utilize some more of that that undercoat, that zenithal undercoat, to get the colors where I want them to be. Do a little bit here on the front. This is probably watered down a little too much. This is going to be pretty wet.
I like these models that are very heavily covered in armor or plating. Makes for
I do
quick
too.
and rewarding painting. Sam McHorn's another good one for that.
Yep. So while this red is finishing drying, because it'll probably take another minute or so, I'm going to actually put some silver base coat on the treads.
What are you going to do that with?
Just cold steel.
I was going to start it with a little boiler black. I like to start with that real dark metallic.
Yeah. I mean, either way works. Not a really significant difference either way. Just rushing through all these base coats for you guys so we can get to the fun stuff here in a minute.
Yeah, so just because it's been happening in the chat and we updated it yesterday, if you are having problems with your emotes working in the chat, if you are a subscriber, we updated the prefix yesterday, so you need to update any hotkeys or anything you might be using with the prefix privateer in front of your emotes. And we should not be changing that in the future. Privateer should be pretty stock for those emotes. Tanner Striker's giving you a hard time for not using the target lock. He actually there's a yellow X there that Tanner put there himself
Who's giving me a hard time?
to give him a visual. Striker.
Well, all I do is praise him, you know, and that's all right. I see
That's how it goes.
That's cool. Or just be the community punching bag. I thought that was Jeff's job personally. But
Yeah, I mean, it was. But you know what? When he's not available, we got to have somebody, right?
I guess I was his protege back in the day.
Makua 2 is saying, I really should finish my War Machine minis. Makua, I would like to know what is preventing you from finishing your War Machine minis.
All right, so now that this red started to dry, I'm taking this Kato red highlight, and I'm going back into the top areas, like right here, and I'm putting the highlight back in there, just kind of putting another layer of base coat in there. And then I'm going to go back over it with the shade, which is the Scorn red in here in a second.
Jordan, push into the middle a little bit. You're like crowding the edge there. Yeah, there you go.
And I'm a little behind Jordan here, just getting to my treads on the base coat. I definitely want to see, as more of this model becomes available, people sticking, basing and things, flocking into the treads, make it look really realistic. I want to see some of that happening. I might have to do that with mine.
When we were prepping these models, we kind of went pretty heavy-handed with the gravel on the bottom and the glue, so that it kind of covers the wheels and leaves some divots and stuff. Which for another model might make it look kind of messy, but on Ledfoot and Tredz, I think it ended up working out. Looks like he's kind of going through some muck,
Mud.
yeah, some extra muck, some extra ground.
Tearing up all the beautiful flowers.
All right, so we're making headway here.
Have you obtained a personal one of these yet, Jordan?
Yeah, you saw it at Warfare Weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that your gunner? For some reason, I thought you were running Boom Howler.
No. I mean, I started with Ledfoot, and then I started using Boom Howler more.
In my defense, we probably played at least 30 games at Warfare Weekend,
We played a lot of,
and that does not include demos.
Correct. Yeah, we played. So for those who
Center
may
up,
not
Tanner?
know, Tanner and I were both at Warfare Weekend, and he and I were both on demos all weekend. So we got a chance to play a metric ton of Riot Quests all weekend, and we were hanging out, doing demos, and having some fun, teaching new people about the game. It was really exciting.
It was very common either that people had already obtained some Riot Quest models for their War Machine armies, or they played with us and then immediately went and got a Stera box
Yeah.
because it really is that addicting.
There were a lot of games around, just in the hall and in the hotel lobby.
Getting a chance to play with some of our fans, we saw a lot of people posting their crews online in the Riot Quest General group leading up to Warfare Weekend, and getting to see the pictures of them and then play against them in person was really, really fun.
So, how you looking over there, Tanner, with your red highlights? Is that all coming along?
I am going to be jumping into that in just a second. I'm trying to get the back wheels here. I'm just finishing up. What kind of brush are you using to put those on there?
I'm just using a size 1. It's pretty much the brush that I use for everything. I was using a bigger brush to lay down the initial base coats, just to get paint on the model, and then I usually do my refine work with this size 1.
Okay.
I got Jordan. I got a question for you from Alec Luta, one of our longtime regular viewers.
I don't even see it. Where's the question?
Jordan, painting
Yep.
question for you. I'm
Yep.
painting Alexia's horse. I'm going for a spectral horse. I've laid down different shades of blues and gray blues, and I'm trying to give it a more ghostly look. Would a white dry brush accomplish this effect?
Yeah. So usually what I do, I can actually show you because I was working on it earlier. So I've got the Studio Lord de Viros here that I started painting, and I'm doing this like green soul glow, right? And this, I started with like a necrotite green base coat, and I built it up to white. So you can start with like a really heavy base coat of like your color. So if you want to start with like a spectral blue or a spectral green, you start with that color, and then you do like progressive dry brushes. Now this isn't dry brush. I've like picked out all the individual highlights, but you can do a dry brush over this with those brighter colors. Just do it in small like blended increments, and you'll get this like really nice effect. And you just do like a heavy dry brush, your next brighter color, you do like a light dry brush, and then just like you just hit it with that very very light dry brush for the final one.
Does the size of the brush matter for that kind of detail work when you're dry brushing?
Yes and no. I mean, it really only matters in the sense that like you want to do something, you want to use a size brush that fits the size area that you're trying to hit, just so you don't like get it everywhere else. But it's not really a big deal if you do the glow first.
I think it's also just a little harder to dry brush with very small brushes.
Yes.
You might not want to.
Like this is about the smallest I would use. This is like my finger for reference size. So it's
So
not
a little smaller than your finger.
yeah. But like this is definitely a decent size for like a light dry brush. You can also use makeup brushes for dry brushes, which are amazing. You would not think so, but they work really well.
Do they can they just be inexpensive ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hot swapping here between this Scorn Red and Kador Red.
Yep.
And
That's the way you want to do it.
really getting a nice even color blend here, and I'm really liking the way that's turning out. I'm kind of taking a little bit of this Scorn Red and doing a low part of this armor plating, and then getting the brush wet, which you also probably should be doing with 2 brushes, and then just kind of evening that out, moving vertically upward to smooth that color out, give it a natural highlight.
Yeah, so I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm actually about to move on to my deeper shade here in a second.
Yeah, Frank Otto on Facebook is asking, is that Kador Red? I think he came in late. Yeah, it's a base of Scorn Red and then Kador Red base?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So like this brighter color on top here is Kador Red base, and then this darker color down here is Scorn Red. And you'll be able to see more of a difference in these colors here in a minute once I start like actually laying down real like darker tones. But I usually like to build my base coat in kind of two layers of values like this. Just kind of helps separate the shadowed areas from the brighter areas.
It definitely also is going to pop out anywhere you're applying a wash, and then especially when you go to highlight, you're really going to see some more of that color difference.
Yeah.
On top of that brighter red.
So we're just going to hit this side.
So Stryker wants to ask you, Tanner, what your favorite Riot Quest model is.
My favorite Riot Quest model, well, there's two answers to that question. Playability-wise, Bella, no question. I love Bella. I think she's in fact, when I'm teaching new people the game or playing with people who haven't played as many games, I purposefully play Crawtooth because I don't want to crush them. As far as painting-wise, Boom Howler is one of the most fun models I have ever painted. I don't know, I really liked some of the metal that I was able to play around with on his gun with multiple metallic shades.
Interesting you should say that.
Doing the tartan was a personal challenge that I was originally I was worried about messing him up because I liked the way he looked, and I was not going to do the plaid. And one of our former coworkers gave me a great piece of advice, and he said, never get so attached to a piece of art that you aren't willing to take risks with it. So I said, screw it, and I did the plaid, and I'm glad that I did. So he was a little bit of a learning adventure. He was a lot of fun to paint. And yeah, I'd probably say he was my favorite one to paint.
And Tanner, just watch the bill of your hat a little bit.
Sorry about that.
Pops in front of
Cool.
the camera.
I
So
gotta stop wearing hats.
I'm about done with these two reds as they are now.
I am also getting pretty close to finished with them.
Doug Hamilton was probably in a threatening social media voice saying, your favorite model better be the wolf.
Nope.
I did have fun with the wolf.
I don't. Nope. Not my favorite one.
I was very inspired because of Red Dead Redemption on that model. As recently playing some of that, and he just has a very cowboy feel to him. I like doing his hat with the little teeth in it and putting the little flame tip on the cigar. He's a good one.
So I'm going to take a little bit of this Scorn Red and I'm going to mix it into some Battlefield Brown. Just get a nice, rich, dark brown color. And this is where I'm going to start doing a little bit of two-brush blending.
Where are you putting this Battlefield Brown Scorn Red concoction, Jordan?
Just into the shadowed areas.
Okay. So like those areas kind of like between the treads and the chassis.
Yeah,
and stuff.
you should be able to see on your camera where I'm doing this.
Yep. Go ahead and mix some of that up for myself.
And Jordan, you haven't talked too much about two-brush blending. So for anyone who's joining us doesn't know about two-brush blending, just kind of give us a quick overview of what it is and how it works.
I mean, Tanner, have you really done any two-brush blending?
Not a ton, honestly.
Okay, I mean, this is a really good model to learn it on. So I'm going to start. I'll do it with a darker color so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about more. So I'm just going to go to the deep shade that I want to make, which is Battlefield Brown and Exile Blue mixed, which is this nice, really nice.
You want me to mix some
Gray
of that
color?
up alongside my red brown?
Yeah, you might as well.
Okay, Exile Blue and Scorn Red, you said?
No, Exile Blue and Battlefield Brown.
Got it.
So it takes a little bit to kind of figure out the consistency that you're comfortable with. But you want it to be fairly thick. You don't want it to be super watery.
Okay.
The more you do it, the more you'll be able to get comfortable doing it with thinner paints. So I two-brush blend glazes, and I'll do anything basically. Let me know when you're ready, and we can get this started.
Let's mix this up and see how we like it.
What's a good place to do this? Probably like gray.
Coming out with a little bit of a gray here, like a dark gray.
Yeah. And you guys can kind of see what that gray looks like on there. So
And
what we're going to do is we're going to take this, sorry guys, this outer plate here on the bottom, right? And we're going to put some in this top corner here. And then the idea is you want to take your second brush and you want to start outside of it and then move your brush back and forth into the paint and then move it back. So you're kind of doing this this swishing motion, right? Tanner, if you want to watch what I'm doing. So you're doing the swishing motion, and then you're moving it into the paint, and then back out of the paint while you're doing that same motion.
okay.
And what it does is it helps you get this really nice transition here.
Can I offer a really bad metaphor, Jordan? You tell me if this is correct or
Yeah.
not. For a visual, your brush is approaching the opposing enemy lines, making attacks, and then it's retreating while taking prisoners.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are we gonna work in that second color? In the same way, like layering it over, or
Which color are you talking about?
because we did that with our that first layer with our Battlefield Brown Scorn Red mix, and I've got this Exile Blue Battlefield Brown mix.
Yeah, so this is just like the deep shade. So this is going to go in the areas that are like really, really dark, right? So because of the way that these wheels are kind of pushed out, right? So they're kind of at like a reverse angle. So this area right underneath them is going to be dark.
Okay.
And then this area down here is still going to be dark, but it's not going to be quite as dark as like this specific area.
Okay.
Because this is not going to catch hardly any light here.
I see.
So I'm going to take my other color. I'm going to do it again on this side.
And this is still the Battlefield Brown Scorn Red mix?
No, this is Battlefield Brown Exile Blue.
Okay. So we got a couple painting questions on here. So Alec wanted to know, to clarify, this is actually a good question because I forgot that there were different types of makeup brushes. So when talking about makeup brushes for dry brushing, are you talking about like an eyebrow brush or an eyeshadow brush? So one with bristles or a foam brush?
Not a foam brush.
Not a foam
One
brush.
with actual bristles. Okay. Yeah.
And then one from DGC on Twitch. Is there a suggestion for colors for gun stocks? I'm painting a lot of yellows and blacks for my Crucible Guard, and running into a snag painting my Rocketmen. So, I am Dorian. Just to be clear, are you talking about you're running into a snag painting the gun stocks on your Rocketmen because of the yellow and black color scheme?
I mean, you can make them brown. Like brown stocks are fine. You could do black stocks. You could do colored stocks. Like you just got to figure out what you want their guns to be made out of. Like, do you want them to have like a carbon fibery style material that's like colored, or do you want to have like a traditional wood stock? Also, the other thing is like some stocks on models in our game have texture on them, like wood grain texture. So that would typically indicate that it's going to be, something that's going to require that.
You can also paint a wood grain on with just a little dry brushing. It looks pretty nice.
Yep. Yeah, you can do that too.
So he says it's blending too much, even with brown. So do you mean that it's not popping very much? There's not a lot of contrast because of the other colors that you're using?
I'm actually taking a little bit of this blending technique that Jordan just taught us and using it with the red as well.
Yeah, I mean, the two-brush blending is something you can really use on.
Watch your hat.
Oh,
Basically,
terrible with the hat.
Basically anything you can use two-brush blending for.
Okay. So Dorian says it's blending too much with the brown. So, any tips for that if the color's not working, Jordan?
So it's a black and white color scheme.
Black and yellow.
Black and yellow, excuse me. And you're using brown for the stocks, but the brown is blending in with the black too much would be my assumption.
I feel like a really tan kind of wood would go well with the yellow.
Yes,
Am I wrong?
there's
Like
a
a
lot,
value
there's
change?
a big spectrum of color of brown. And this is something that like took me a long time to conceptualize. Is like I'm so used to thinking brown and being like, oh, this is brown. But this isn't the only kind of brown you can get. You could get brown that's like, I don't know. Here we go. Like this is also brown, right? But this is a much more like yellowish, orangish brown. So like playing around with the type of brown that you're using. So maybe use like a reddish brown, like a bloodstone would probably be really good. This is blood tracker brown. But bloodstone's got this like really nice rich like reddish brown texture or color. Yeah, Riker's Iron is very right about that.
I am really, really loving this this red-brown mix and what you can do to just put it in some of these lower areas and the way it blends with our scorn red.
Oh, yeah.
Center
I
up on
love it.
camera, Tanner.
I love it.
So you can kind of see what I'm doing here to two-brush blend this darker brown color into this lighter brown color on the top.
And I'm also trying to do the same thing around where those like high points on the edges of the steel are, down near the, I guess, bottom end or south end of those. I'm using some of that red-brown mix and then blending it in with the scorn red.
Yeah, and so the thing about it is, like, part of the reason why the studio painters here at Privateer, generally, like, always have a paintbrush in our mouth is because we utilize our saliva to kind of, like, as a mixing medium almost to mix the two paints together. Because it doesn't dry quite as quickly as water does. So it gives you a little bit better working time, as weird as that may sound. I would definitely not do this with paints that are toxic. So don't use like enamels or anything.
Privateer Press does not recommend putting paints or painting implements in your mouth.
Correct.
I am personally in camp, no paintbrush in the mouth ever.
Yeah, there are ways that you can do it without. And the more comfortable you get with doing like two-brush blending, the easier that is. But
I'm not even trying to be judgy. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, that's okay, dude. I've been trying to do it less because for whatever reason, it really like dries out the back of my throat if I do it for like long periods of time.
You know who does
And
it
gives
all
me,
the
like,
time?
really bad.
Tony. That's who does it all the time.
I'm a brush licker. It's true. It is a habit I have not been able to get rid of, and doing two brush blending doesn't help.
Yeah, you really have to like focus on that being a problem, and you have to be like, I am actively going to not do this, and just force yourself to not do it.
I think I'm going to go home, and I'm going to take some brushes, and I'm going to cut them in half. I'm going to make a two-brush blending brush like I've seen Danny use.
Yep.
Would you recommend a tool like that, or would you prefer just to have two separate brushes?
I mean, you can honestly do it with one brush. You just have to like you don't have to have two brushes to do it.
That's
It
actually
just
what
is
I'm
more
doing right now.
difficult. Yeah. And you have to have a little bit more wet consistency to your paint to do it. But like once you play around with it and you kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work for you individually, like once you hit that sweet spot, you can start pushing that sweet spot in different ways to kind of find a good way to do it for yourself.
I'm just very excited about the color development that this is given the model. Like it just has
Yeah.
so much shade to it. It looks great. Not to pat myself on the back or anything.
Go ahead, pat yourself on the back. Be proud of it.
And then I'm actually going to start working on highlight color here.
Hey, I just whipped that out as well.
So I'm taking some Kato Red highlight. I'll mix that in with a tiny bit of Kato Red base.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mix some of that with my
Tanner,
red
you
too.
also got a pat on the back from Riker's Iron.
Thanks, Riker's Iron. You're the man.
And then we're going to do this
I
two-brush
think-
blend in here.
Like 7 out of the last 10 times that I've walked into Jeff's office, he's got your streams running in the background.
Jeff is one of those people that I was surprised to know that he like appreciates painting as much as he does.
Yeah,
really
self-admittedly, it's not his strongest thing. I'm just proud to see that he's been working on it more.
Yeah,
and
I mean
more.
he's definitely been doing it a lot.
I really like his King Kondo. He put a little blockader crown on it, or
Oops, sorry guys.
blockader slash galleon crown on it. It looks real cool.
So Guillaume in Facebook is joining us late. He wants to know why you chose red for the tanks, Tanner.
Because of the motherland, my friend. That is why.
He's a big Kador guy.
I am a big Kador guy. You may see me rolling out the Kador on Tuesday, maybe.
Oh man. Who are you playing against?
Faye in a
Okay.
35-point Oblivion matchup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's for your for the
The
Privateer
in-house-
Press in-house league.
Yep.
She has years and years more experience than I do, and that's why she is going down. She's going to get too cocky. Or at least I hope so.
Oh,
So I'm
come
just
down a little,
setting
Tanner.
these,
You're getting a little shade from Stryker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Tanner's doing great as long as he stays in frame.
That is my biggest problem.
In his defense, he hasn't. This is his first time on a Get Your Paint On, so he's not used to the target marker and having to keep his stuff in visibility.
Yeah, it was a little different when we were speed painting against Danny because we were moving so many things around anyways that there was always something in frame. I'm kind of tagging these raised edges with that highlight color.
So you guys can kind of see where this is coming along. Here, you got this nice orange color on there.
It looks great. At least Jordan's looks great.
I've got a bit of practice behind my under my wing.
The saddest
a little bit
thing
of an advantage
about painting models on stream like this is that you don't get to take them home and play with them.
Why not?
What's that?
Why not?
I don't own this Ledfoot and Tredz.
But you can.
I can. It could be my Ledfoot and Tredz. No, it's donated to Staff Showdown.
Oh, all right. That's your choice.
Well, I'm selfless like that, Jordan.
You are.
Do you keep all your Get Your Paint On models?
Generally.
Do you have a display case full of Get Your Paint On models?
I actually do at home.
I am actually.
They're just
like a
chilling in my
display
case at home.
That's pretty rad.
Half-painted models.
Not gonna lie.
I mean, I finished up a lot of them. Like pretty much all of the Riot Quest models that I started for Get Your Paint On, I finished for my personal army that I took to Warfare Weekend.
Have you played around with any more of those? Done a little finishing touches on any of them?
I did a little bit more work on my my Boss McCorn and my who else was I working on the other day? Gosh, there was one other one I was working on. I don't remember.
I just won't accept Crawtooth until his tongue and teeth are painted.
Yeah, I know. Hey man, I painted up all 14 of those models in like 6 hours.
Yeah.
So you got to give me a little bit of credit.
And hey,
here.
it's easy for me to say when I go home and paint with like 80% of my free time because I don't go home and like cast after work,
Yeah. Yep.
Just go home and make models.
That's a good question. I have just generally for the chat. For those of you, like, do you go to work all day? How many of you go to work all day and then like to come home and continue to do the work that you did all day? Like if you're painting all day and then in your free time you also enjoy painting. If you're a chef and you cook all day and then you come home and still enjoy cooking. I'd like to know. It's a personal curiosity.
Well, in my experience, not that anyone cares, working in construction and then going home and doing home improvement afterwards totally blows. It's not fun at all. Not fun at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. That would be pretty miserable.
Oh, Rikers used to test video games. So did you get sick of playing video games, or was it a completely different experience? Like, did you not want to do video games at all anymore, or is testing different than just playing and enjoying it? And
So
Tanner, you're the Billy. Your hat is in again.
I am this. I need to. Okay, no more hats for stream or on stream for Tanner.
Hat free streams.
Yep, I'm gonna start having to wear the knit
Yeah,
hats
like
from now on.
when you're playing a game, you're kind of like, from what I understand, like I have a lot of friends who've done testing jobs before, and they were definitely like, when you're testing a game, you are just actively trying to break it the whole time,
Right?
Or you're just doing like a very small segment of it, like 1,000 times,
looking for bug
looking
reports.
for bugs and stuff like that. Like even just like text bugs or just like weird, like glitch bug type stuff. Like,
Yeah, typos.
yeah, like there's all sorts of weird stuff that you test for.
So Rikers Iron, if he used to be a game tester, and now he's a paint streamer, the real question is, when are you getting a real job?
All right, let's see here.
He's laughing.
All right, how you looking over there on the highlights, Tanner?
I am loving it.
Bring it down in the frame, Tanner.
I don't know that I need a ton more. I might give
You're
down in the
yeah,
frame.
yeah, there you
Sorry,
go.
I was thinking the different axis.
South,
Yeah.
south end of the screen.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw probably a little more on the edge of this tread.
So now we're gonna do this weird bit where we're gonna add some skin tone to our highlight here.
I'm pretty excited to see this.
So the part of the reason you want to do this, it gets this like really nice peachy color for your highlight, and then what you do is you actually bring it back down. Oh, wow, my voice cracked a little bit there. With red ink glaze afterwards, and that just kind of like blends all of the colors together. This is actually what we do for the studio Kadar Red.
So which color is this?
So this is to the mixture of the Kadar Red highlight, the Kadar Red base, and a little bit of a good amount of Rin Flesh.
Good amount. A healthy drop of
Yeah, there is orange in the highlights. Kadar Red base is a orange.
Yep.
Like it is
Kadar
orange.
Red highlight.
So
Kadar Red highlight is orange.
okay.
It's just kind of like a slightly desaturated orange. Like this is Inferno orange. This is Kadar Red highlight. So there's kind of like two different types of red.
Definitely getting this. Looks
Or
like
orange.
I had one of those strawberry shortcake bars this morning, and that's what this color reminds me of.
Yeah, like as you can see, like these highlights are really, really orange here.
This is what do you think about the peachiness of this color? Like you said, does that look all right?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Where are we gonna hit? What are we gonna hit with that?
So just the tippy top highlights.
Gotcha. Secondary highlighting.
This should be your final highlight.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's nice.
Twitch has spoken, and generally speaking, it's pretty unanimous that if you do a job all day at work, nobody really wants to do that job when they get home. In the cases of like video game testing versus playing video games, it sounds like the activity and energy put into it is different enough that you can still enjoy it. So if you can change it up, but nobody really wants to do similar type of work when they get home.
Do you want to make videos when you get home, Tony?
Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
Not at all. Yeah, it comes up all the time. I'd be like, oh, I can make video for this. I can make video for this, and it really isn't. I
just
do
like,
enough of
no.
it here. I'm just like, no. I want to paint. I want to paint miniatures. I want to hang out with my kids and cook dinner for my family. So yeah.
Well, I'm concerned because
Tony, you're such a dad.
I would really
love it.
love to spend more time painting as a profession, but I spend like 80% of my free time outside of work
Sorry,
painting,
yes.
and I don't want to ruin that for myself.
Yeah, that's the thing a lot of people run into is you find something you like to do, and then wanting to do that as a career and make your living at it is always very attractive, and it certainly can work. But it does kind of change your relationship with it. I know it did for me in doing film and video.
On a semi-related note, Jordan,
Yeah, I can certainly agree with that 100%. Tony and I have had quite a few conversations
Yeah,
about it.
absolutely.
how do your wrists feel after a full day of painting, Jordan?
Actually, pretty fine.
Wow.
Like, my wrists don't normally get super sore, but I've definitely noticed that like, I should be stretching more. Like, I should be doing hand stretches more.
Does your hand ever fall
Stuff like
asleep? Your painting
this.
hand?
No.
That's cool. See, I dislocated my right wrist many years ago. It's never reset. So sometimes my hand will just kind of numb out when I'm painting for hours.
Yeah. I do not get that. I do have, like, occasionally my wrists will get pretty sore. Not, like, significantly so, but I assume it's just some form of, like, light type carpal tunnels type stuff. And usually when
The
that
joy
happens,
of
I'm just
painting
like,
with Jordan.
you know what? Time to just take a break for a little bit.
Just take a little break.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I don't paint as much, in my own free time, is that, I don't want
Got to keep
to
the body fresh.
super strain out my eyes or my hands. But I mean, like, my finger dexterity and strength and like my wrist strength has definitely improved a lot since I first started doing this. So I can definitely paint for longer periods of time than I used to.
Jordan, I have a personal request.
Yeah, what's
When
up?
you get to the barrel of that gun,
Yeah.
I would really like to see how you approach doing a very reflective look on that barrel.
Reflective?
Yeah,
Like,
so
with
it looks like
metallic
it's
paint?
No. Just like with the red, but how you would draw in highlights and things to get it
Oh,
to
on the
look like
barrel?
it. Yeah, it's a very shiny, reflective barrel.
Anything for
On
you,
like
Tony.
this part or on
No,
this
on the
part?
red. Yeah,
On the
with the
red?
red.
Okay. It's kind of
I mean, I'm kind of I'm guessing it's probably similar to how you did your red Valen Hawk.
Oh yeah, yeah, very much that. It's a lot of
Got a couple random questions. Guillaume says, "Cook dinner for family equals what's your specialty?" I don't have too many specialties. One family favorite in my house. It sounds really weird at first. I promise you, it is super delicious, very rustic. But it's fried eggs and spaghetti. So
What?
yeah, see, that's the reaction, and it was my reaction before I ever made it. But it is fantastic.
Like
You just-
together?
Yeah, you make like you simmer garlic and olive oil. Make like a garlic olive oil sauce. Cook your pasta, and then when the pasta's done, you mix it with the garlic oil. Mix in some Parmesan cheese. You can make in the homemade breadcrumbs if you want. That's a little extra step. And then you just fry eggs in a little bit of olive oil, and then when they're nice and gooey, you just drop them over the pasta. And like I said, it sounds really weird.
Sounds
and
kinda like
not
you're making a
fancy,
carbonara.
but it is good.
Ooh,
Yes,
I love me some carbonara.
yeah, it's much more in the vein of a carbonara. I also learned last night as I made a new pasta. My kids don't like tarragon. It's not good. They don't like it. I love it. I thought it
what,
was great.
tarragon?
Yeah.
interesting.
I am very big on making like custom mac and cheeses.
Nice.
Like we recently did bacon cheeseburger mac and cheese. That was pretty tremendous. We've done Philly cheesesteak mac
Well,
and cheese in the
go
past.
go back. Bacon burger mac and cheese.
Bacon cheeseburger mac and cheese.
Tell me
yes.
more.
So my roommate went and bought some. Like I always hand press my patties. I never buy pressed burger patties. But my roommate went and bought some, and he was like, "I want to use these up." And I was like, "Cool, but we should do something with them because if we're gonna eat burgers, we're gonna eat better burgers than this."
Good
So
call.
I barbecued them, made up some bacon, made up some noodles, cheese blend, all that good stuff. And I went and cut up the burgers after barbecuing them and put them in with the bacon and some fried onions, along with the noodles and cheese blend, and then baked that up with some scallions and breadcrumbs on top.
Yeah, you're making everybody hungry.
Sorry.
Man, I made some absolutely incredible chicken noodle soup last night from scratch.
He tells me all about it, brings none of it.
Oh, I have it here.
Really?
Yeah,
Are we
I
going to
just
have lunch
don't-
together, Jordan?
I just don't have enough to share.
Oh, okay, that's how it is.
If you're really nice to Jordan, he might
Oh, yeah.
he might take you back home to his house and make you some lunch. It's good. It's worth it.
I've done that for Tony once before, and he was just like, "You can invite me over anytime."
I got to come back.
I also make a killer chicken sandwich, which is the thing that I made for Tony last time.
What kind of chicken are we talking?
It's just chicken breast, man. I just
Oh, yeah?
grill up chicken breasts. and-
Grilled chicken. Okay, see, that's what
Yeah,
I was wondering.
Grilled chicken sandwiches. And it's real simple, like lettuce, tomato, onion, mayo, mustard, toasted hoagie roll with sliced grilled chicken, and it's absolutely incredible.
There's a company that I really like that makes high quality ground meats, and they used to make a ground chicken, and we'd take that home and press patties just like burgers and bread them. Super easy to make and pan fry, and just made delicious fried chicken sandwiches. Chicken Parmesan style is my favorite.
Watch the bill of your hat, Tanner.
Oh no!
Yeah.
All right, it's going away.
I gotta say this for anybody watching at home. Like
The hat's going away.
the setup is pretty simple, but it can be kind of difficult to be able to paint on camera and keep everything so that you're comfortable painting and what you can see, and having the audience at home be able to see what you're doing. It's always a big challenge.
I'm sure our streaming friends in chat know all about it.
Yeah.
I
And if you
learn.
don't have problems, send me an email because we need to talk.
Show us your methods.
I need to learn your secrets.
I am touching up my metallic on my Tredz a little bit. I think I'm going to do some more work on that.
What I've been doing, which you guys might have been able to notice, is I've been going in and kind of re-adding a little bit of midtones back into this red. I felt like the mid-tone color was being a little overpowered by the highlights and the shadows that I already had in here. So I'm just going back in and I'm just kind of quickly adding a little bit in there and just doing a little bit of blend in to get it to mix nice and good. And then once this is all done, I'm gonna go over and do some red glazes over just a small portion of it, so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about there. And then we might get into some freehand,
Ooh, I hope so.
which I know Tanner really wanted to get to. There's not a lot of great space on here for it.
I was thinking maybe a tiny one above his barrel, or maybe the way to go would just be to
something
put
like right
one
here.
like on the side of his tread, maybe.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
where
that
I
would
was
be
kind of looking
good.
at. Or
Side
there's
of the
also
tread would
that
be good.
space
Ooh.
right behind.
Right
Right
next to
here.
Ledfoot
Yeah,
on the
next
back.
to Ledfoot, right on the
That's
back.
prime real estate. Yeah.
All right, so I think I'm just about good. I'm gonna take this highlight and I'm gonna push these highlights a little bit more. I'm just gonna get in here and do some line highlights here.
I
So
based my treads with boiler black, and I'm going to dry brush a tiny bit of cold steel on them.
Musa said that red looks super cool. I always struggle to paint highlight red or to highlight red without it turning pink. And well, this is the recipe. And I think the key to doing that is to not use pink or red with white. To
Yeah, you
actually
definitely don't use white.
lean towards orange highlights.
That
do.
skin tone was the move.
Do oranges and then you highlight with that skin tone. It's a thing that I picked up a little while ago, and I was just like, this works really, really well. So I just started using it for basically everything.
And just keep it nice and thin when you're putting that orange on top of your red.
Yeah. Yep. Man's got it. He's
Yeah,
got
Brother Chaplain Cage actually has a good point too. Is like if something's looking chalky or too pink, and I believe Jordan, you said something that you might do this technique as well soon. Is just to go back over it with a little red ink wash.
Yeah, so this will look chalky and it will look weird. Like, I know this looks pretty okay on camera, but in person it looks very chalky. And that's because that bright color over that red and orange just like looks kind of weird. But now that I'm going to grab my red ink, got our good old red ink here.
I'm also ready to grab that red ink.
And you really want to water this down a good bit. You can go over a little bit thicker if you want to do less coats of it. For the Studio Kadar red, we usually do like 10 to 15 coats of like really thinned down red ink.
Why so many coats versus just one or two coats?
It allows you more control, right? So if you have really thinned coats, you're doing much finer transitions. And when you do the thicker, like you can't undo it. Like once you've gone over with like thick red ink, like you can't undo that mix. So this is pretty thick right there. Like that is what I would consider to be pretty thick. This is something more along the lines of what we would usually do.
Oh yeah, that's quite a bit thinner.
Yeah. So
Okay, I'm going to want to thin mine out probably some more.
and the trick is you want to have a really even application on your areas.
Are you applying this just
Don't
like a
wanna let it
wash?
cool. No. This is like a true use of a glaze. Like you really want to be very calculated with where you put this.
Don't want to put it all over the red then? What kind of areas
Well,
am I
you want to
looking-
cover all of the red, but
Okay.
you don't want to like
pool it at
pool
all?
it
Okay.
at
Yeah.
all. Yeah, it's very, and you don't want to go over. So you want to think of it this way, right? Like you're covering the entire model with one layer. You're going to let it dry. You're going to cover it with another layer.
Even my darker spots?
Yeah, because what it does is it brings everything together. So it brings the darker areas up and it brings the lighter areas down.
So it's going to even our colors out. Okay.
So like one place you'll really be able to notice it once we get a little bit more coats on is up here and on these side treads here. And I'm going to go a little bit thicker just so we don't have to do as many coats. And mix these two that I have. So I'm kind of going with a little heavier stain here. You guys can see on my hand. This is kind of like a little bit in between these two.
I'm trying to spread this way out.
Brother Chaplain Cage is saying that he's seen airbrush artists use flesh colors on something that's going to be a bright red color,
Yep.
and then come in after with several layers of red ink, and it makes me think that is. I've never tried that before, but is that a legitimate way to paint some red on here? Is to actually start with the flesh color and then come back in and add?
I mean,
glazes?
you could. It's kind of like just building your foundation of color with a glaze. Like it's like if you just took the Zenithal base coat and you just, painted entirely with glazes, like you would get to a similar stage, right?
Okay. So it is that so? It's a functional technique, but it might just not be quite a time saver.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, there's so many different ways of doing anything in painting. Like, it's art. Like, there's a million different ways that you can do it. It's just whatever you're more comfortable with and whatever you like, whatever end result you like the effect of the best, right?
Stryker wants to know if any of the Riot Quest models released have made you want to get more than one, so that you can, because you have different paint jobs that you want for them.
I have 4 Butcher 4s, so yes.
No, but only because I just don't have time for that many projects.
Butcher 4.
And I've already
also
painted a
ton of
Butcher
fun.
4, so
Ton
for
of
the studio.
fun, man. His skin is just like, there's a lot you could do. with
Yeah,
that.
I have
Especially if you
painted
wanna
that
do
skin 3
tattoos.
times. So
So
I painted my personal one. I painted the one on Get Your Paint On. I painted the studio one. Like, I painted a lot of them.
Alec wants to know, for a bit of headcanon, if this tank had external speakers and was blasting music as it was gunning into a fight, what music is playing?
Whatever they play at Russian discotheques. I'm guessing some very heavy bass, Eastern European vocals, probably some patriotism in the lyrics.
So we've got about 10 minutes left, and so if you were going to get to doing any freehand on the Kador symbol, that would be cool to see if we have time to do that.
I kind of want to do a couple more layers of this glaze, so you can kind of see the difference between this tread and this tread as it starts to build. I mean, you can already see the difference, right? With just 2 layers of this glaze.
Mine's only got a single layer on there, but it's definitely making like the lighter areas of the red more stark.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, once this area dries back here, we can start doing a freehand on there. While I wait for that, I'm just gonna take a real thick layer of this red. Ooh, that's not very thick at all, actually. There we go. That should be much stronger. Yep. All right, so I'm gonna take some heavier red, and I'm just gonna go in here. I'm gonna.
Moose is asking, you don't discuss hashtag P3 Painters entries anymore? We just haven't done it yet
We
today.
haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Patience.
We are getting there.
I'm going to throw a little rust on my treads while we wait for that glaze
Oh
to
yeah.
dry.
Sorry, Tanner. I know that was a thing you wanted to talk
That's
about.
quite all right. I've done a fair amount of rust. So what I'm doing here...
Well, what that
Oh,
means is
keep-
we'll just have
keep
to
it
get
centered.
you on again,
Oh, yeah.
and we'll have to get you on for some actual rust.
That sounds great.
Or you know what we could do? We could do P3 Painters while this dries, and then once it's dry, we can do both the freehand and a little bit of weathering as well.
Heck yeah.
Let's do that.
So let's go P3 Painters.
All right.
Hiya!
All right, here we go. Here's the first
you
piece. Oh, wait. Get it.
Hiya!
That was awful. We got to
You're
work
really
on
bad
that.
at this. Ha!
See, that was okay.
Did it happen
All right,
yet?
can
All right,
you just do
we're,
it?
We're gonna have some rehearsals, and then next time we'll try it again.
Tony's messing this up.
All right,
I'm trying.
Hashtag P3 Painters.
There we go.
Showed my 3-armed bronze back. Oh, you covered it up, Tony.
That looks
I
like
was
a
reading
Rikers
somebody's
Iron
comment.
Sorry, what
heavily
was it?
corroded Dreyfus.
Brother Chaplain Cage. Oh, that reminds me, prior to Pest, you guys showed my 3-armed bronze back a while ago, but not with Hobby Hangout.
Now with Hobby Hangout,
Now
should I send a whip to there or P3 Painters? I would hashtag both of them.
Just trying to get double featured.
Hashtag P3 Kit Bashers and hashtag P3 Painters. That way we will see it.
Heck
and,
yeah.
And we'll put it on one or the other. Speaking of Rikers Iron.
Speaking of Rikers Iron, this is sweet. Speaking of weathering, this is sweet.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
I really love these color choices here. I love this this white with the rusted on it. It's just good.
It looks
I love
like
it's great.
It just looks like he walked out of the sea. Like he's not like covered him up, but just like the suit has just been sitting and corroding somewhere.
Whatever that
for
is,
a really long time.
would look great on the Mariner Warjack.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love
this.
this.
Is great. This is what you want to shoot for when you're trying to do weathering.
And also,
Yeah, it's great. I like it. This just the color choices, the blue and the white or the yellow, and this rusted weathering. It just looks really good.
yeah, that's what I wanted to point out from the art nerd standpoint. Is not only is it cool weathering and stuff, but the like I don't know verdigris oxidized look and the orange go well together.
Yeah,
like
you-
with
the,
on
the choices of colors here, not even the weathering notwithstanding, like it complements the weathering really well, which is a really effective utilization of the technique.
I have a feeling there's a lot of different paints and colors that went into their weathering alone.
Oh yeah. So, Rikers Iron, this is sick. Thank you for showing this. I'm excited to see more of your stuff. Keep it going.
Now get a real job.
All right, and for this next one, this might be more of a hobby hangout, but we wanted to show it off today.
Yeah, this is sweet.
Drakios Dragoon.
Yeah, this is crazy. There is so much going on
Whoa.
here.
Is that a Scar boat?
This is a Scar 3.
Whoa.
Or there are no parts of Scar 3 on this, but this is a Scar 3. So this is a bunch of green stuff, or
It
putty
is.
rather. A boat from the Sea King and a Scar 2 model without the her existing like boat that she's hanging out on top of it.
Yeah, that looks phenomenal.
Yeah, this is rad.
I mean, just what amazes me is just how much sculpting work has been done on this. I mean, look at this.
Yeah, she is the boat.
Yeah.
Or the wave or whatever that is. The wave. That's incredible. And the chains, really.
All the chains down to
Really
these
seal the
these
deal.
figures down by the wave. Like which I really like that cool effect too, because it makes me feel more like this boat is being carried on land because you have those figures kind of standing
it's really
there.
cool.
Someone get this guy on call in case we have to cancel Danny.
Well, we're canceling Danny.
Yeah, this is sweet.
This is-
Thank
yeah.
you so much, Dragos Dragon Studios, Dragoon Studios, excuse me, for posting this. This is dope.
All right, here's our last one.
And our last one.
Boom.
Hey! It's my boom howler!
So,
I'm honored.
so those of you who don't know, this is Tanner's Boom Howler.
I was just talking about him earlier.
Yeah. So we thought it'd be funny because he actually posted all of his RideQuest models in P3 Painters. Thank you very much, Tanner.
Hey.
I
I created an Instagram just to do that.
Heck yeah, man. I pulled out the one that I really liked. One of the things that I love about this is the fact that you put shells on the ground.
There's
Oh,
shell.
This
yes.
is so great.
So yeah, I felt like it wasn't quite right if he hadn't been, recently firing off shots with that thing. So I went up to Danny and I said, "Hey, Danny, what's a quick and easy way for me to make some bullet casings?" And he goes, "Just take this styrene rod, and then take the back of your knife to put the divot in it, and then just cut a little piece off." And he gave me a little piece of styrene rod, and I just went home, made up about 20 of them, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's doing either boom howler or anything with a big gun because it just adds so much to it.
Yeah,
this is really good.
And it sounds like they were pretty easy to make.
Yeah, it was a matter of minutes. It was crazy easy. Styrene rod and a knife's all you need.
And okay, and to be clear, the styrene rod looks like it needs to be solid, not hollow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I didn't know they made hollow.
But yeah, this is super awesome.
Well, thank you. That actually means quite a bit to me coming from you.
Heck yeah, dude. I love it. It's great. All right, so now that things have dried, we're gonna kind of go over this, and we're gonna show.
I've been playing around with the rust on my treads a little bit.
Awesome. See that? Nice. I like it. I like it. Yeah. So we're gonna do a little bit of freehand here.
All right. You starting with a black there?
Yeah. So
Are you going to do the logo in black or a
Yep.
backdrop?
logo in black.
Okay. I will do the same.
So
You got a
let's
nice
see.
sharp brush here? Or?
If you don't, there's.
No, I was just wondering if that's what you're using.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm using the same brush I use for everything, but whatever you're comfortable with doing really fine detail work.
Okay.
So we're going to I'm going to start with the triangle, because basically the symbol is like this, right?
Yep.
So that's like a really simplified version of the symbol, but that's kind of what you want to draw. So you want to simplify the shape that you're trying to freehand. So I'm going to start with this triangle.
And I'm
going to try and pick the center of this, which I'm going to basically follow kind of this triangle that exists right here. And I'm going to go right on the inside, and we're going to do this. And we're going to do this. And then we're going to do this. Thicken these lines a little bit.
Yep, I'm going to have to do the same.
Hey, Tanner.
Yes, sir.
We got Sunday Taco is asking who you are. Do you mind introducing yourself
am
again
I?
and telling what you do
am-
here?
Yes, I am the casting lead here at Privateer Press. So anything that's made in-house, which means if it's made of resin or metal, goes through my departments. I help make those products, and I also manage our equipment and our labor and all of the other technical things in those departments.
Generally, casting badassery.
I appreciate all the praise. But I'm just trying to make the community happy. In the words of Carl Johnson, just doing my part for the community. My triangle is a little ugly, but I am still happy with it.
So, I mean, it takes a little bit of practice. Mine's not quite even, but
Yep.
it's pretty close.
Mine's a little short, but I think once we put
Did
the
I do this
lines on
upside
it-
down? I did this upside down, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. You did.
Oh, okay.
Well, you could also just like make that a black backdrop and then paint it in yellow.
I could.
I just went way too fat with that line.
Next episode,
So, here's how you
Jordan
fix this.
fix mistakes.
Here's how you fix this mistake. You do this. You let that dry, and then you blend right over it. I thought there was something about that. You should have corrected me when I pointed it out on my thumb. I was like, there's something wrong about this.
So Rikers says water and a toothpick and rub it off.
It was already pretty dry.
So does it? So
Wouldn't work.
Rikers, does that only work when if the paint is still wet? Because at that point, you might be able to use a brush or something too. But I don't know what to do other than repaint over it once the paint has dried. Riker says it works when dry too. I'll have to give that a shot.
I'm actually just going to paint my whole triangle here black, and then I'll paint the inside of it red, just so I can make sure and keep this kind of even. Looks decent, though.
Brother Chaplain Cage says he has an old brush with the bristles cut super short so he can scrub it off. That's usually what I try to do. Or if it's on a clear enough surface, sometimes I'll just go in there with my thumb, wipe it off as long as it's wet.
Yeah, that's usually what I do.
I'll usually wrap a little bit of paper towel on the end of a toothpick, especially if I'm trying to get a tight space.
It's very dainty.
And then I'll kind of rub it around with the wet paper towel on the end of that.
All right, so
I'm going to...
because I messed up, decided to redo it. So I got one down here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in with this. And I'm going to start building up yellow with, I think we can probably just use rucksack tan for that, or blood tracker brown.
Did you paint over that, and now you're painting the logo in yellow?
Nope, I went,
What are you doing in yellow?
see?
Where? Oh, right there on... Oh, okay. Right there on the side of his...
Yeah, this is still drying.
I
so
see, I see.
That is still drying. So I'm going to let that dry here for a second. And we're going to do a little bit of some small like weathering things that doesn't require a sponge. We can do a little bit of both.
Boom, there's my Kador
We're
logo.
going a little late here. I hope you guys are okay with that.
Pretty pleased with this.
None of our viewers like extra
Nope.
episode.
Yeah, we can't give them free content, Tony. We got to shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So one of the things with like weathering that you want to think about, I'm going to do it here on the front so it's easy to see, is you want to think about where things are going to be hitting this material that's going to cause it to chip. So rocks being flicked up from the ground are going to chip against the bottom of this.
Can you move to your right a little bit?
Oh, sorry. My bad.
And what are you painting? What color are you painting with?
This
there,
is
Jordan?
just black.
Just a black?
Yeah, I mean, you can do like a black brown for a base coat, but
Okay.
I'm just putting a little bit of chipping in here now, and I'm going to go back over it with silver.
Okay. And you're just still using a smaller brush there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I use this size 1 for basically everything.
Gotcha. So I'm going to be putting kind of like little scratch marks, like it looks like stuff flung up, doing some
Yeah.
thin little lines.
You want to do some
like
like dots and stuff like that
dots
too.
too. Okay, yeah.
So the thing about the brush is it's really hard to replicate like true like random chipping. You can do it, but it just takes a lot of back and forth chipping. It's really easy to do it with a sponge, which we actually have here, so I can kind of show you the difference.
Could you also use another brush that had the bristles cut off to do like some stippling or
Yeah,
something?
you could. I actually generally prefer sponge. You get a little bit more random texturing from that. And what I usually do is I'll take a piece of, so if you guys know what this is pulled out piece of
Pluck foam.
Pluck foam. So what I'll do is I'll like tear a little chunk off like this, and then I'll fold it in half like this, so I get like a nice little pointed edge, right? And then I'll put that in my paint, get most of it off, and then I'll go back here. We'll go, finding my camera spot, and then we're just gonna hit little areas on here, right?
Now this might be a bit of a detail, but in this case, is there a difference between using pluck foam versus using blister foam?
No, it's
like the
just
kind you
small.
find in a package?
Yeah, it's just a small rectangular area.
The blister foam's actually really nice. I kind of like to
Yeah.
use the corners of them.
So what I like to do after I get this like little spackling here, right?
And you're doing that
Is-
on the blister foam with what color did you use? The black
I just
again?
use the black, yeah.
Okay.
And what I do here is I'll go in and I'll actually like take my paintbrush and I'll connect some of these lines, make these chunks bigger.
Center up, Jordan.
Oh, sorry. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. Oop, oop.
So you're going to go back with the brush and expand some of those chipping points? Is that what you
Yeah.
mean?
So you guys can kind of see some of this chipping that's going on here. I'm just going in here and I'm just kind of bringing a little bit of everything together. Now this is a really small area to be doing this in, so it's kind of tough to get there.
Yeah, and center up.
Doing, gosh darn it. So I like to use a little bit of both, right? So take the sponge again, get a little bit of that, kind of hit it again. So this is a particularly large chunk that's been pulled out, right? So yeah, that looks a lot more random now.
I'm going to go ahead and do that on my
And then,
Tredz.
once that's dry, I'll use this front part as an example, is I'll take my silver, and I'll go in and I'll paint over these black areas.
And I'm going around the back wheels, stippling with the blister foam, or the pluck foam, kind of up above his wheels where that might be throwing some gravel around.
So you guys can kind of see what I'm doing there, right?
Are you back over there with a metallic now?
Yeah. And I'm just following kind of just putting the silver metallic in the areas where the black is.
And center up just a little more.
Yeah, sorry.
I know you're like on a super tight area.
And are you painting streaks with that metallic?
Nope, I'm just doing little dots to fill in those spots. So
Gotcha.
I'm going to do this
Do I kind
back
of want
side
it
here.
almost on top of those black specks?
Yep.
Excellent. That's what I'm doing.
Oh, Tanner, you got a lot of damage going on. It looks cool.
Thank you. I really, really love doing rust. All of my Kador jacks are old and rusty.
Yeah, so this is a good way to do like chipping and battle damage, right? And then the cool thing that you can do after this is you can take some brown. So we'll take a little bit of Umber Lumber and a little bit of Blood Tracker. We're going to mix them together. Or Battlefield Brown also works too. It's the closest thing I had. And we're just going to mix them up into kind of a nice little washy glaze.
What were those colors again?
It's Blood Tracker Brown and Battlefield Brown. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to hit that silver area.
And just,
Okay.
center up on camera. Okay, there you go.
Just going to hit that silver area with this.
And are you kind of just trying to stain the silver?
Yeah, and hitting a little bit of that red too helps kind of pull it all together. Because it should be kind of messy, right? And you can also do streaks with this sort of stuff. So you want to do like
Oil streaks?
yeah, or stains. Like you can do something like this.
Oh, can't see you.
Oh goodness gracious! There we go. So something like this, and you can kind of bring it down.
Oh, it's super light on camera. I can barely see
Yeah.
that.
Mix a little bit of black into there.
Brother Chaplain Cage, thank you. I appreciate you noticing my efforts and how difficult it is to tell people to stay centered up on camera. It's very difficult.
I'm also in a window that's like literally like this big. It's very small.
Unlike
Very
Jordan,
small.
I don't make
This big.
excuses.
This big. This big. It's the size of my eye.
I just do
Calm
my
down.
job.
It's like most of Tony's job is telling people to stay in frame.
Stay on camera. Jeez. So do stuff like line the underside of this. Do a little bit of like
Where liquid or things would collect and
drip down.
I'm doing what he's doing with a little bit of dry brushing.
And you can do this with just straight Battlefield Brown.
Tanner center up too.
Sorry, bud.
There you go.
This is also nice because it's
Kind of see.
giving it a
There we go.
little bit of a muddy look too. Big fan of that.
The other thing too is you want to think about like the shape of the space it's falling off of. So like something like this rim, if some dirt or mud collected under here, you had a droplet fall, it wouldn't fall straight down. It would fall.
Kind of roll over that.
It would roll
Yeah.
at kind of an angle like this.
And you're doing that with your dark brown.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's going to roll with the curvature of the shape.
See, this is the thing that I love about when I've tried battle damage and when I've seen it done is that it's not difficult. It's like it's not a complex process, and a little bit looks great and a lot looks great. So you can either spend all day covering your model in damage and make it just look super brutal, or you can just spend a few minutes just adding a couple of little details that are really just going to give it that extra little pop and polish.
Yeah.
I'm also taking some of that brown and making sure I apply it not thickly, but a little more liberally in places where something like water might settle, like on the upper sides of some of these plates and rims. And if you want to do some of your streaks and drip effects going towards those, that's probably a good idea.
Wrecker says he just finished painting, but he wants to paint again still.
Like I said, about 80% of my free time outside of this building is spent painting, so I feel it.
And
I've probably painted over 100 miniatures this year. I don't know
Jeez.
if that's really that much, but
Do you track the painting that you do?
not especially. But since I got here, I just really, like, I've been painting a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but I just kicked off like crazy when I got here.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's at 11:15.
Yeah, we
so
should probably
let's do a little
probably call it
little
quits.
wrap up.
Let's maybe throw just a tiny orange on top of this for the rest, maybe? Just tiny orange.
Just tiny
Just
little
tiny
bit.
little bit of orange to
little
finish
bit,
up the
little bit
rest.
of that mud splatter. Boom. Get in here, get a little dirty. Boom. Wipe it away with your thumb. And we're done. Thank you, everybody, for showing up, hanging out with us. Tony, I don't know if you have links for Quasar over here for our P3 painters, but we've got to get back to work. We'll see you guys next week. We are actually working right now. But anyways, we'll see you guys next week. Or not next week. Next week is not happening because it's Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is next week. We are not going
Never
to be
mind.
here next week.
We'll
Thank
see
you
the
for
week
pointing
after.
that out.
So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you, Tanner, so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Tony, thank you so much for doing the stream.
I love being here.
And we'll see you guys later.
Thanks
Bye,
for
everybody.
watching.